I would bet this guy is more connected than most people in the city of Arlington. And the reason why I say that is because he has to do this every day and reach out to people like Penske, people that are all over this area to bring businesses to and events to our city. This guy's our outside salesman to represent our city in the best way possible is the way I see him. You know, it really is. If you can't get behind a guy like this because he's the guy selling our city on why they're bringing money to our city. I would bet this event this weekend is probably going to bring several $1 million in economic development revenue right here in Arlington from just hotel taxes and everything else. This is part of the reason, probably the main reason, that helps your property taxes get knocked down and other things get knocked down, bringing more city services, police, fire. This is that guy that's going to help us do that. So, Mr. Matt Wilson, no other information required. Come on up here, my friend.
Woo. That is an introduction.
It's true.
I need Jeff to come around with me.
Hey, it's not lying if it's true.
That's true. Well, that's like George Costanza said, it's not a lie if you believe it.
That's right.
I believe it, right. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so thankful and blessed to be here. Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for getting together. Thank you to the gentleman that led the prayer for thanking the farmers. Because you'll hear in my voice, I'm from West Texas. I am the proud son of a farmer and the farming community. So appreciate your prayer on that. And trust me, the farmers need all the prayers that they can get, especially out in West Texas. So if you know anything about West Texas, I'm from Levelland, Texas. Anybody ever heard of Levelland, Texas? Yeah. Does anybody have any problems with Levelland that I need to settle today? Because I'll do it. I'll take this jacket off. My parents were born and raised in Levelland. I was actually born in Childress and raised in Levelland since I was 3. And so if you hear that in my voice, that's where it's coming from. A little bit of West Texas. I get a little bit of grief about it from time to time because I say things like measure. I don't say oil. I say oil. You know, those type of things. You're going to hear it. I'm not going to apologize for it. I hope we're all okay for that. I thought I'd tell you a little bit about like who I am, so you know a little bit of background, and then I'll tell you what I do, and then we'll talk about some event-specific things. I'll leave some time for questions and answers because I'm sure that you have plenty of questions about, you know, IndyCar. You have questions about FIFA. You have questions about Super Bowl, whatever it may be. I want to give you the best answers I can possibly give you, and I'm going to tell you everything as truthful as I can. There are times where I can't say anything about it because I have an NDA or whatever it may be, but I'll give you as much information as I can because I think that that's really important for this city. Like I said, grew up in Levelland. I'm a proud Texas Tech University graduate. Okay. What?
Go Frogs!
Go Frogs! I'll tell you what, sir, that is one of the finest junior colleges in all of Texas. It really is. I've seen plenty of folks there. I left whenever I graduated from Texas Tech. I went to San Antonio. I worked for the Valero Alamo Bowl in San Antonio. That's where I did my internship. And the Frogs have been there a couple times. Gave us some great games down there and made some folks really happy. Did my internship there, and then I worked at the Alamo Bowl. Also ran the U.S. Army All-American Bowl. Also ran the East-West Shrine Game for a year, and had that experience. And then I left San Antonio. I went to Austin. And this is where things get a little bit kind of weird for me because I always was in the event production business. My job was specifically to put on events. And when I got to Austin, I was starting the Austin Sports Commission. I was going to be the #2 guy, and I interviewed for the job 3 times. And I get the job. I have a brand new baby at home. My wife's in San Antonio. I moved to Austin, and I'm doing the thing. And on the second day on my job, my boss says, "Hey, I want to talk to you about your sales goals." Sales. Now, when I say the word sales, some in here might go, some people love sales. When I heard sales at that time in my life, I had no idea that I would be in sales. I thought, like, how do I get you into this low mileage Buick? And my stomach kind of turned because I was like, I'm not a sales guy. I'm not a sales guy. And I was very confused, and I told my boss, I said, I don't understand why we're talking about sales. He said, well, sir, you're going to be selling the city of Austin. And I said, well, I'm not a sales guy. He said, you need to view it as building relationships and building trust. getting people to trust to put your event or put their event into your city. And I've taken that with me, and that's what I've been doing ever since. So I was in Austin for 7 years. I came here in April of 2013, so I've been here for almost 13 years. Next month will be 13 years. And people thought I was crazy to leave Austin, because at the time, Austin was taking off like a bottle rocket. They were building new buildings. I mean, you couldn't swing a dead cat without hitting a construction crane downtown. I mean, that was just the way it was. And when I told people I was going to Arlington, they're like, "You're gonna leave Austin for Arlington?" And here's the reason why. When I came to Arlington for my job interview to be the #1 guy, and when I say #1, just to run the sports commission and work for the Convention Visitors Bureau, I saw tons of opportunity. If you think back to what Arlington was in 2013, we were just on the cusp of some really cool things, but there was some catalysts there's some tumblers that needed to fall. I looked around and I saw parking lots, and I thought, man, this is opportunity. I could work with the Cowboys, I could work with the Rangers, UTA, AISD, all these different things, but I saw center of the country, center of Texas, these great stadiums, and nothing but more potential and more opportunity. So I take the job. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about just like how bad it was at first, and I'm going to give credit to my wife about something. I'd been here about 6 months, and I'd had a really hard time. People didn't want to talk to me. Cowboys and Rangers were nice to me, but they weren't, fully engaged with what I was trying to do. And I got a call from Frisco, and they were like, "Hey, we'd love for you to come run our sports division up in Frisco." Well, Frisco's the shiny penny, right? It's a new place. And I go home, I'm having dinner with my wife, I've got my 2 daughters there, and I said, "Honey, I'm having a hard time here. Frisco might be a good move for us." And my wife never even looks up from the plate, and she says, "I thought you were a lot tougher than that."
Bam! Bam!
I mean, it gets me. I mean, to this day, it gets me. And she said, "I thought you were good at your job." I said, "Well, I am." She said, "Go prove it. You came here for a reason. You said that Arlington was the opportunity. Prove it." Challenge. Well, I'm a competitor. I played football in college. I'm a competitor. I went into my boss, Ron Price, if you remember Ron Price, and I said, "Ron," well, I call him Ronnie. I've known him for a long, long time. I said, "Ronnie, I've got an opportunity in Frisco, but I'm not going to take it. I'm going to do it here. But I need you to let me do my job the way I feel like it should be done, and I'm going to really get after it. I'm going to push the boundaries of what we can do, and I need your support on this." He said, "You got it." Started meeting with Jeff Williams. Started meeting with all these different folks, and so we started putting things together. And the central part that I was very adamant about is that it was going to have to be Arlington first. It wasn't going to be, let's partner with Dallas, let's partner with Fort Worth, let's partner with all these people. Let's figure out how to come up with the money on our own, and let's be in charge of our own destiny. And let's start doing things. So it was kind of a bold thing, and I'm not going to by any means take credit for all the things that have happened. I'm not doing that at all. It was a gathering of the right people at the right time to get new hotels built that everybody told me there was no way. There was no way. I can't mention this person's name, but I had somebody from Dallas say that there was no way that we could build a luxury brand hotel in Arlington, Texas. Nobody would do it to them. And I made sure I invited him to the grand opening of the Hotel. And came by and said, "I'm so glad you're with us today. It means a lot to me that you showed up. What do you think about our hotel?" And he said, "Well, you did it. I have to eat some crow." I said, "You're going to eat more of it because there's more coming. We're not going to build just this hotel. We're going to build another one. Then we're going to build another one. We're going to build another one." I'm proud to tell you the Live by Lowe's was the first part of it. Now we have Lowe's Arlington. You've seen that we've just announced the Lowe's Americas. Caravan Court Hotel, which is going to be an incredible addition to our city, opens in May. And that's a credit to all of you for making those kind of things happen, because you've supported us. This group right here, these are the people that make those kind of things happen. You're the ones that voted for new stadiums to make those things happen, because when we met with the Lowe's years ago, they're like, well, what would support these kind of things? And part of my job was to make sure that we had enough business on the books for them that they felt confident in not building one hotel, but building 2 hotels, building 3 hotels. When we met with people from Valencia Hotel Group about Caravan Court, it wasn't, what can we do on the weekends? Our weekends are pretty busy. You guys know this. Our weekends are busy, but what can we do from Monday to Thursday to make sure that these hotels have enough business on the books? So that's part of the Convention and Visitors Bureau's job. Really, that's the main part of the Convention and Visitors Bureau's job, is to make sure that we have enough business on the books to drive economic development and to make sure that we're moving things forward. So, to be here for 13 years is incredible, and to look around the entertainment district, to look around the downtown area, not taking credit for any of those things, but the things that we were hopeful for are the things that are happening. And we're really still in build mode. We're taking a little bit of a lull, but we're tearing the Sheraton down, and on June 15th, I've asked to be able to push one of the buttons, to kind of clear the way for the new hotel. And there's goods and bads to it. There are some growing pains whenever you're changing a destination. Little old Arlington, whenever I got here in 13, if someone did something really nice for us, we gave them a bag of popcorn. We gave them a bag of colored flavored popcorn as a thank you. And I don't mean that to belittle anybody, but that was kind of our thing. It was like, they did something really nice for us, we're gonna give them a small gesture. My thing is big gestures, big expectations. We're gonna do things for you, we're gonna take care of you, but we're gonna have great expectations in return. And that's part of our philosophy now is, I'm done with little old Arlington. I don't want anybody telling us what we're doing. I don't want to be beholden to any other destination or any other group other than us about the things that we go after and the things that we do. Okay? So that's our mindset. So we're a dot the dash between D and FW. We're standing on our own. I had a call from the county judge's office about some listing things and the way that they wanted us to do things. And they said, do you want to be included with Fort Worth or do you want to be included in Dallas? I said, neither one of them. We're Arlington. And I say that with a lot of pride. And I know that all of you in this room share that. I am so incredibly proud of the city and the things that we've been able to accomplish because we did it on our own. We didn't have to rely on other people. We did it on our own. And I know that that's part of the can-do attitude of this city. When I look around this room, and I know so many of you in here, and some of you I'm happy to get to know, I know the way that you think, and it's the way that I think too, is that we're proud of this town. We raised our kids here. My girls came here when they were little bitty girls. I've got 2 girls in college now. Arlington is their hometown, and I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of that. If I can't be in West Texas, this is where I want to be. And so I just want you to know that I expect you to be proud, and I'm incredibly proud of this city. Let's talk a little bit about what we do and how we do it, and we'll get into specifics about events. Our job with the Arlington Sports Commission is to go out and compete. And we compete every day, both here locally versus Dallas or Fort Worth or Frisco, wherever it may be. And we compete on the national level versus Las Vegas or Miami or Kansas City or New York or whatever it may be, to bring these first-class sporting events. And these are things from youth sports all the way to WrestleMania and Final Fours. Okay? Every week we have a youth lacrosse tournament or a youth basketball tournament. Those are things that are big drivers for us. You guys have been in restaurants where you see a bunch of little boys coming in there wearing their baseball outfits, and they've played in a tournament that morning. They're going to play again that afternoon. They're staying in hotels. They're eating in our restaurants. They're going to the Highlands and shopping. Or their parents are going to the Highlands and shopping. And those are huge economic drivers for us. And just understand that we have those things going on every day of the week. Just about every day of the week. Maybe not in January and February, but throughout the rest of the year, people are playing all over town. Basketball tournaments, volleyball tournaments, all those different things. And when you add those things up, the economic impact of what we do is tremendous, it's huge. And I'm not saying that to pat ourselves on the back, but I want you to know that those things are happening day in, day out. We're putting people to work. I think back to 2020, and whenever the rest of the country was shut down because of COVID, I was on the phone with Governor Abbott, and he said, tell me what you need to, this is the actual conversation, what do you need for us to be able to continue to keep people employed and working. I said, I need you to let us do our thing. And he said, whatever you need to do. We're gonna have some, some restrictions about, capacities and all those different things. But if you look around, and let me just give you a greatest hits of 2020 and tell you what the city of Arlington was able to accomplish. We had PBR World Finals. We moved that out of Vegas. Called PBR and said, I heard the governor of Nevada said that you can't do your event. I've got an arena here that you can do that. How about you come to Arlington and we do it in AT&T Stadium? They said, let's see if we can get out of our contract. Nevada said, we'll let you out of your contract for 1 year. We had the NLDS, the NLCS, the World Series, all in a brand new building that was going to sit empty if we didn't offer it, okay? Because if you think back, Globe Life Field was brand spanking new. The very first event that was supposed to take place in there was Chris Stapleton and Willie Nelson. And we got canceled on the day that that event was supposed to take place. So we have NLDS, NLCS, World Series, PBR World Finals, and I've got a couple more here. National Finals Rodeo. This is one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of in my life. And that came about because, again, Nevada had told them, you can put on the National Finals Rodeo at Thomas and Mack like you normally do, but you can't have fans there. You can make it a televised event, but you cannot have fans there. And I said, hey guys, I have an opportunity for you here. And this was kind of one of those bold things. Have you ever done something where you said you'd do something and then it happened and you're like, oh crap. I've got to figure out how to make this actually happen. Like, oh yeah, we'll make that happen. They're like, okay, do it. You're like, yeah. Give me a couple days. Let me just tell you a couple things that happened here that day. We moved Cowboy Christmas to Fort Worth. Huge economic driver for Tarrant County, okay? We have National Finals Rodeo for not just 10 days. We had the event for 10 days, but we had people in town for 15 days setting up beforehand, and then 10 days afterwards to tear it all down. We had hotels that were on the brink of closing their doors that we were able to keep open because of that event. Because of the commitment of that event for people to stay here, to have 30 days of stays, kept people employed, kept people being able to buy Christmas presents and shoes and clothes and food and all those different things. And how cool it was for the first time in 40 years to move it out of Las Vegas and to have it here at Globe Life Field was an incredible feeling. It was a huge win for us, huge win for us. Where we also had the Big 12 football championship. And this is the crazy one. I'm at my parents' house in Levelland, Texas. I'm working on a tractor in a barn. My phone rings and I see it's a number that I don't recognize from California. I answer it and it's the people from the Rose Bowl. Now this is December 25th. It's Christmas. We'd had Christmas that morning. I was just trying to escape the rest of my family and drink my coffee and put a new starter on a tractor. And I said, well, when do you want to do this? And they said, January 1st. Do you think you can do it? I said, well, I'm going to need to make a couple of phone calls. If you can give me a day or two. January 1st, we host the Rose Bowl in Arlington, Texas. I mean, think about that. We did it because we can do it. And not everybody else has that opportunity. So I'm so proud of that when I think back to 2020 and we do that. And since then, we have this greatest hits. Okay, all the things that have happened in Arlington happened because of you, not because of me. They happened because of you, because you voted on these things, you've supported these things, you've fostered this community of let's do it. We want to do it. We want these things to happen here. We don't want them to happen elsewhere because every event that comes here could have gone somewhere else. Every single event. There's not an event that happens here that couldn't have happened somewhere else. We together made those things happen. So let's talk about some of the things that we've worked on. WrestleMania, we've had it twice. It was the two WrestleManias that have happened in Arlington, Texas, are the two most successful WrestleManias of all time. Okay? From an economic impact, from ticket sales to global audience. When we have WrestleMania here, our ticket base is 48 to 55 different countries of people coming here. So these aren't people that are driving in from Pasadena, Texas. Yeah, those folks are coming too. No, we have people from England, from Japan, from Taiwan, from all these different places that come here and they are expecting this high level thing. So the Arlington Sports Commission, our tagline is, we crown champions. And what we lean into is if you want to do it the biggest and best, if you want to have these elite championship level events, you don't do them somewhere else. You do them in Arlington, because this is where champions are crowned. So Mayor Williams actually was the first one to really support that tagline, and Mayor Ross has done a great job of supporting that as well. That's what we tell people. We don't come to things from a standpoint of arrogance, but we do come from it from a standpoint of confidence. I don't apologize to anyone. I don't duck my head to anyone about Arlington, Texas. I just don't. Whenever I talk to people about it, they're like, well, where is it? And I'm like, let me show you. And I'll show them the greatest hits of all the things that happened. Those things didn't happen in Dallas. I don't care what they say. I don't care what they put on their website. I don't care what they put in their magazines. It didn't happen in Dallas. It happened in Arlington. Okay? So, this weekend. Anybody have tickets to go to the race this weekend? Okay. Still have availability. But this is going to be part of history. So if you've driven anywhere around the entertainment district, I apologize, it's completely my fault. If you've kind of gotten into a detoured route and you're cursing under your breath, or maybe you're doing it loudly, I don't know. You can say my name, that's fine. There's nothing you've said, nothing you can say has not been said about me 1,000 times before. I'm a big boy, I can take it. These are the type of things that are a global audience, and those are the things that we're trying to put on our resume. We are trying to not only just bring in economic drivers, we're also trying to make sure that we have a resume that no one else can compete with. And I think that we're very, very close to have a resume that no one else can compete with, because that gives people confidence. Going back to my boss 13, or actually 20 years ago, when he said, get people to trust you and build relationships with them, and that's how you win. That's how you sell your city. One of the ways that we get people's trust is to show them these are the things that we've hosted that have been incredibly successful. There's one event left for me that we need a redo on. Super Bowl, right? We need a redo on. Left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. I think this is me talking. This is not me telling you anything that I know. I know that the NFL wants to come back here. I know that they want to redo as well. We don't talk about things that happen next year, because next year to us is this afternoon. 2 years for us is like tomorrow. 5 years for us is like, okay, that's next week, right? 10 years, like, we got a couple months. Super Bowl, I think 2032, 2033. I think we probably have a pretty good chance of that. There's some lawsuits that need to be settled. Being completely honest with you, there's some lawsuits that are still working through, because those things will not happen until those things are put to bed. Okay, I do think you'll see a Super Bowl, but think about everything else that we've hosted. What else is there to host? FIFA World Cup, got it this summer. Grand Prix. It was supposed to be a Formula One. That was the event that we were trying to get, was a Formula One race. I'll be completely transparent about that. 8 years ago, we had conversations with Formula One. What they asked for in return was about 3 times what IndyCar was, or what IndyCar is. And we just kind of look at things from the lens of, is that outlay of money and effort and resources worth what we're going to get in return? And the answer for F1 at this time was no. For IndyCar, we felt confident that it was going to be a good endeavor for us. So this weekend, you have IndyCar races on, you have trial runs, test runs, Friday, Saturday, the main races on Sunday. We have concerts on Friday night. We have some smaller concerts on Saturday, and then Sunday. I know all of you are excited about T-Pain. How many of you already own, some T-Pain merchandise? Okay, no? It's big with the kids. Big with the kids. Big with the kids. It's going to skew younger than me. But this is going to be a really cool thing. It's going to be national broadcast, and those kind of things help us. The more people see us on the national broadcast, the better for us. I want you to, the homework that you have is whenever you watch nationally televised events in Arlington, whether it's a Cowboys game, a Rangers game, Grand Prix, FIFA World Cup. Well, let me backtrack on FIFA for just a second. I'll get to that, because I know you have questions about it. You'll hear Arlington, Texas. We build into every contract now that if it's nationally broadcast and it's taking place here in Arlington, whenever they come in for a Sunday night football thing, and Chris Collinsworth is talking about, where the game's at, the game's in Arlington, Texas. Don't say Dallas, they're contractually obligated to say Arlington. And the reason being is in my line to every television executive is the citizens of Arlington have earned that right. We paid for it. If you paid for something and somebody else got credit, you wouldn't like it, right? We're the same. We paid for this. Dallas didn't pay for this. Fort Worth didn't pay for this. North Texas didn't pay for this. We paid for it. So we pay for it, we get the benefit. And I do think that, regardless of what you hear about FIFA, and let me address this because I know that this is a question. Nobody in this room is going to like the fact that it's called Dallas Stadium. And let me tell you, I've been working on FIFA for 8 years. And this has been part of the discussion for 8 years, was it needs to be Arlington. FIFA, their reasoning is for an international traveler, they don't understand Arlington, they understand Dallas. Fair enough, okay? I grew up in West Texas, and when somebody was gonna go out here, they were gonna go to Six Flags, or they were gonna go to Rangers game, what did they say they were going to? Dallas. I get that. I don't like it, but I understand it. Right? So for an international traveler, you're coming from Korea, you're coming from the UK, you're coming from India, or wherever you may be coming from, Dallas is a more easily digestible thing to understand, okay? They also wanted to keep it consistent with every other destination in that it's Los Angeles Stadium, it's New York Stadium, it's Kansas City Stadium, those type of things. So the reason why is because they wanted to keep it consistent, and quite frankly, it's because they could. When it came down to it, they're like, you want these games or not? Well, yes, we do. So Arlington still wins. I don't like it. I'm sure the Cowboys are not super excited about it because it creates quite a bit of a problem for them and AT&T. But we've been able to work through most of those things. So that's the reason why, if you ever have any questions about it, I'm happy to expand a little bit more about it. But that's basically the gist of it. They were like, take it or leave it. Well, I'm not going to tell people that FIFA went away because I didn't like the way they were going to name our stadium. So hopefully you'll forgive me for that. FIFA World Cup, 1986. I did a book report about something that happened once every 70, 72 years. What was it? Haley's Comet, right? 1986. What were you doing in 1986?
Getting married.
Getting married? I was in second grade. I was in second grade. And I do a book report about Haley's Comet. Here's the reason why I mentioned that. This is kind of a once in a lifetime, maybe twice in a lifetime type thing to host something like FIFA World Cup. You guys want to know a little bit of backstory about how we got 9 matches?
Yeah.
Most of the time people want to hear like backstory, okay? We go into everything with the idea of we want the championship, we want the big things, right? So all of our conversations with FIFA was about us hosting the championship game. That's what we wanted. We felt very confident going into the week that was going to, and so this got announced, what, 3 years ago? 3 years ago, I lose track of time. Since COVID, I can't remember if it was 2 weeks ago or if it was 2 years ago. So 3 years ago, we get an announcement that they're going to tell us live and on television who gets what, like where these games are going to be played. There was not going to be any notice prior to that television broadcast. We would find out at the same time the rest of the world found out. I don't like that, right? I don't like walking into a situation where I don't already know the outcome. I don't like people being around me going, you know something, and I don't know it. I like to know it and say I can't talk about it because I don't like surprises. Maybe you do. I don't. Except for Christmas. I like my Christmas presents to be a surprise. Whatever. So FIFA tells us we think it would be important for you guys to put together a party at the stadium for this announcement. So what do you think? Same thing I'm thinking. They're not going to tell you that you're getting the championship. I feel like they just told us. Okay? They also told us that the championship venue would not have any more than 5 total matches. That was the only thing that we knew, is that if you were hosting the championship, you would not have more than 5 total matches. Okay? Cool. Nobody else knows that. I know it. Monica Paul in Dallas knows it. A couple other people in our inner circle know that. Nobody else knows it. We told them that we didn't want to have a public party unless we knew for sure we were going to get it. Last thing I want is 5,000 people out in the parking lot watching this on television and then be disappointed. So we have a very private party inside AT&T Stadium. And when I say private, I mean there's probably 200, 250 people in there, but it's kind of like a who's who in the sports world in North Texas. So you have Dirk Nowitzki there, Emmitt Smith is there. We wanted to have some like star power in the room, not just me. I was all district first team 1995.
Big deal.
That's a big deal, big deal. All South Plains in baseball. I don't like talking about it. So Jerry Jones is there, and Charlotte, and Steven, and Jerry Jr., and everybody's in this room. So we're watching this on television inside the bowels of AT&T Stadium, and you can feel this excitement. Like I've been working on it at that time. I've been working on it for 5 years, so I'm excited, but I'm also a little bit nervous. Like I don't want to be disappointed, but they told us to put a party, right? I literally am standing next to Jerry Jones, who, by the way, thinks my name is Mac. The first time I met him, whenever 13 years ago, they introduced me, and I was like, "Oh, I'm Matt Wilson." And he said, "Mac, it's great to meet you." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, did I correct Jerry Jones about my name?" No, like, I'm the new guy. I don't want to like make anybody mad, so I didn't correct him. So for 13 years, he's called me Mac, and I just tell people, "Don't worry about it." He's standing next to me,
Senior mom.
and they have, you know, inexplicably, like Shaquille O'Neal's on the screen, drawing, you know, like putting things up on the bill, and Kevin Hart's up there. And here's where it comes. They said Arlington, or they say Dallas, Texas, 9 matches, and the room erupts. I mean, people are high-fiving, hugging each other, and my heart is in the bottom of my boots because I know what had happened. I knew we weren't getting the championship. And all this work for 5 years, all this work and all this trust and all these signals that they've been sending us about how we're not going to tell you you're getting the championship, but you probably need to plan a party. And then now I'm standing in this room, and everybody in this room thinks it's the greatest thing that's ever happened. And I hope that you guys will forgive me for this, okay? But I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm standing next to the dude. I'm standing next to Jerry Jones. And he turns to me and he goes, "Son of a bitch." And I said, "Mr. Jones, I'm sorry." He said, "I'll tell you what I want you to do. I want you to make this so good." I'm going to leave out a couple of words on this. I want you to make this so good they regret every day that they didn't put the championship here in Arlington. I said, "Yes, sir. We'll do that." Now, I've got 8 years with FIFA now. I will tell you this. We did not get the championship. I'm bummed about that. But we have 9 matches. We have a semifinal. We have 8 other matches. And when we go back into December, whenever they did the draw was the most important piece of the puzzle for us at that point. It still is. Because if you get a bad draw, if you get a bunch of countries that don't have any kind of following, you got a lot of work to do to make sure that you have the right amount of economic impact. I will say confidently, and if you may agree with me when I say this, there's not a better draw out there. We had the absolute best draw that you can get. Argentina, Netherlands, Japan, Jordan, all these different countries. Big following. Huge following. England. We have the very best draw. What does that mean? What is that important to us for? We'll have 90,000 people inside the stadium. There's no doubt about that. There's 9 Super Bowls. We may have 100,000 people outside the stadium too. People that are coming here just to be a part of it. Just to be a part of it. That's how special FIFA World Cup is to people. We think about Super Bowl, we think, man, this is the biggest thing. But, Super Bowl, World Series, College Football Playoff, National Championship are our big deals, right? But let me tell you, on a Super Bowl, you may spend, a half of your day getting ready for it. You're going to go to somewhere and pick up some wings, or you're going to spend, your day smoking a brisket, whatever it may be. And it's a big deal for us. You might invite some people over for it. That pales in comparison to what people think about their team in the World Cup. It pales in, there's no comparison to it. There will be people, I want to give you a couple things that you can expect. There will be teams that meet off-site before their match, 10,000, 15,000 people get together in an off-site location and march to the stadium en masse. That's cool. It's a little scary. We got to figure this out, so we've been working with PD and fire and all these things because we want to harness that energy. We don't want to tamp it down. We want people to have excitement. We want them to be celebratory. We want them to be excited about coming to the matches here. So we're working on ways to make sure that they can do that safely and doesn't endanger anybody else. It can be a little wild, it can be a little woolly, that's okay. But we figured out ways to give them lanes to do that. If they win, they're gonna go back to their hotel, they're gonna party until 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning.
Next day.
Next day. You guys know that if you're making too much noise in your room after 10, you get that phone call from the front desk, and they're like, hey, got a complaint. You guys just maybe turn your television down, That's nothing like this. So what we've talked to our hotels about is let's provide a space, whether it's your meeting room area or whatever. So if you're like Team Argentina, that you can come in and you can say, hey, after party's here. We're not gonna bother everybody up in your rooms, it's still gonna happen, I'm just gonna tell you. But we're educating our hotels, we're educating our restaurants, we're educating all the different businesses in town about what to expect because it's something we don't normally see. I've never had to go tell somebody like, hey, we may have 20,000 Alabama fans meet up off site and march to the stadium en masse. It doesn't happen that way. They're gonna tailgate. There might be a couple fights out in the parking lot. That's nothing we hadn't seen before at a Cowboys game, when the Giants are in town, the Eagles are in town. So it's just education about a different type of client, a different type of customer than what we've ever had. But I am so proud, and I know that you are too, to welcome international audience to Arlington because they're going to see something that they weren't expecting. Every time we bring people here, when we had NCAA in town a few weeks ago, because we're hosting the men's Final Four in 2030, when we got NCAA in town, we did a bus tour, we showed them all around Arlington. And we are so drastically different than what we were in 2014. The last time we hosted it was in 2014. We're a completely different city than what we were in 2014. And they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you have this. I can't believe you have this. We are not the land of chilies and apples. Okay? That was the knock against us was you don't have public transportation. We're working on that. And it's kind of like chilies and apples. Everybody in here knows that we have great places that are indigenous to Arlington, but we have even more now. We have things that we can be excited about. We have Smoke and Ash, Hurtado Barbecue, Roy Hutchins Barbecue. We have, Prince Lebanese, all these different places that we're able to welcome a global audience to and have a better offering for. So, let's do some questions and answers. Hopefully I'm not too much over time.
You're great on time. We all know that the Rangers won 23 and had a great year, and we've heard that it's actually done with look like fields and all that. If the way future, if the Cowboys were to go win a Super Bowl, is there a comfortable division or would that be that?
No, it would take place here. All right, that was a great question. I'm so glad you asked it because I want to give you a couple of things about that. That was actually not only were we all excited about the Rangers winning, but it actually gave us a stress test that we weren't expecting. Okay? Now, some people will tell you there were 700,000 people out there. That's not true. Okay? I have access to a program called Placer. Placer tracks cell phone data. Now, it doesn't tell me where you live, it doesn't tell me your name, but we can track like how many people. We put a geo fence around a spot at a certain place in time, and it tracks how many cell phone users were in that geo-fenced area during that time. Now, it doesn't you can't track anybody that's international because they don't have the same kind of chips, and you can't track anybody under the age of 18, but just 18 and above. We were somewhere around 200,000 people in the entertainment district for that event, for the celebration. It allowed us to understand what our strengths and our weaknesses were. To have 200,000 people down there, we had 2 injuries, and both of them were self-inflicted. Both of them were caused by maybe celebrating a little too much, okay? To have 200,000 people down there, and it was hot that day, I don't know if people remember, it was hot. We didn't have any major problems. We had a few things where people were getting so excited that they were gonna miss the parade that they were parking along I-30 and walking, parking along the access ramps and walking. But if that's the worst problem you have, that's okay. it helped us understand like what we needed to do better to host something like People World Cup or, you know, a Cowboys celebration or whatever it may be. It helped us understand like better ingress, egress, safety protocols, things that we should have done. One of the things we did about that when they won it on a Wednesday night. They won it on a Wednesday night. The prevailing thought was we were going to do the parade on Saturday, so that way kids could come there, families could come. We ended up doing it on Friday for two reasons. One, we were a little bit worried that if we did it on Saturday, the crowd would be twice that. If you really had 400,000 people down there, it's a pretty major problem, right? Second of all, we needed every available police officer, and so we put it during the day. We knew that some schools may let out. They kept some people from, you know, just taking the entire day off, and we needed all those school resource officers not to be in the schools, but to be at the program. So that was the reason why we did it on Friday. Kind of was a little bit of a scramble drill. Wish we could have had a little bit more length in time before that actually happened. But yeah, I would love to see a Cowboys. You know, Mayor Johnson from Dallas tried very hard to have the Rangers parade done. And to their credit, Ray and Neil said, ain't happening. So, credit to them. Yes, sir.
You mentioned a couple things about being, you know, the center of, you know, we're not tagging on Fort Worth or whatever. We want to be the 51st biggest city or something like that anyway, right? But so it's something like World Cup. So not only do we end up getting those 9 games, we hear about teams training in whether it be Frisco or Mansfield or whatever. Do we end up being, are those people contracted separately or are they sort of quarterback through Arlington? Like, do we kind of farm them out to Mansfield?
No. I mean, really, FIFA makes the decision on all of those things. And, you know, we presented them several opportunities here in Arlington. We offered, for example, like Choctaw Stadium, you know, to use that as a training facility. The majority of the teams wanted to be further north because they were worried about the people. They wanted to be further north. I would argue that Kansas City has very similar weather to us. It gets hot in Kansas City just like it does here. Nashville can be hot and humid. I think there might have been, you know, a want to have some vibe around, you know, where those teams stay. Frisco and Mansfield were always going to get something just because we had the area had put a lot of money and time into making those things available to them. Disappointing we didn't get something here, but I also understand most of the time teams don't like to stay in the same city that they're playing in. It's weird, but I mean, we see that in college football, we see it in college baseball. You know, when teams come to town, they don't want to stay right across the street. Coaches are funny about that. They're like, well, we don't want to distract. I'm like, sir, you can be distracted in Las Vegas too. So that happens quite a bit. Yes, sir.
I was just gonna ask, I've heard from Mayor Ross that there's still a small chance if we have a chance at the Stars. You don't, even if you're covered by NDA, you don't have to say anything, but you give us
Yeah. The question was, you know, is there still a small chance of us getting the Stars? I was at the Stars game last night.
So there's your answer.
There's our answer.
All you gotta do is thumbs up or thumbs down.
I'll tell you a couple things. We were very aggressive about it. We put together what we felt like a really awesome plan for them that would be beneficial for them and beneficial to us. The things that we're up against, and I could argue it all day long, I really could. The things that we're up against are the same things that we were up against when the Rangers were talking about building a new stadium, okay? And again, I want to tell you this, and I want you to understand that I'm an Arlington guy, but I'm also understand business. I also understand how things work. So let me give you an example of what happened with the Rangers and transfer this to the Win Stars, okay? When you think about ticket buyers, sponsorship opportunities, because certainly the days of just having a team and them being the hometown team, and you know, they have a couple of beer sponsors or whatever, those days are over. Everything from the time you walk into the building, even before you get to the building, is about maximizing each person that comes to the game, maximize the amount of money you can extract. Truth. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny about it. That's just the truth. When you're paying these players the amount of money that they're paying, It's gotta come from somewhere. That's why people get excited about, man, we're paying this guy $50 million a year, that's awesome, like, you're gonna be helping pay that, okay? That's why beers are $15, $18. That's why parking is $60, $70, $80. That's why, you know, if you go in and you buy a polo in the pro shop, it's $120, or you can go to Walmart and buy a very similar one for $30, right? There's a reason for that. When the Rangers were looking at, and you can ask Rob Maverick this question, I don't know if he'll tell you the full thing.
Next month's speaker.
Next month's speaker.
Next month's speaker.
One of the reasons why, there's a couple of reasons why the Rangers were wanting a new stadium. One was they looked down the street and saw all the things the Cowboys were doing throughout the year. AT&T Stadium is not a football stadium. It is a special events stadium that they happen to play football. They utilize that thing 365 days a year. There is always something going on. If it's not a football game, it's a flag football tournament. If it's not a flag football tournament, it's a CEO summit. It's not that, it's monster trucks, it's supercross, it's all these different, it's a concert, whatever it may be. The Rangers looked at what we call the ballpark, which we all love and, you know, are very, you know, it's attached to our hearts. That is a baseball-only facility. That is a baseball-only facility. You couldn't do anything else with it. You had natural grass, you couldn't kill the grass. Although I can tell you a story about me killing the natural grass. I'll see if I have time to work it in. They wanted to maximize revenue during, you know, throughout the year. Now, because with baseball, you're only really using it maybe a quarter of the year. You know, if you think about it, 80 games. 80 games versus the rest of the year, it just sat empty. So they wanted to build it, but they had opportunities to build it somewhere else. Now, what most people don't know is I saw the plans that Dallas gave me. I saw it. And I'm going to be totally honest with you. It's freaking awesome. It was really cool. They basically took PNC Park in Pittsburgh. If you've ever been to PNC Park in Pittsburgh, it's a really cool stadium. It's very tight. It's very intimate. The backdrop of PNC Park is downtown Pittsburgh. Okay? You can get off the train. You can walk to the stadium. If you're working downtown, you can walk across the bridge and go to a baseball game, right? Sponsors love it because you're in this close proximity to their corporate headquarters, all these different things. What Dallas had proposed was a stadium on the Trinity River, with the backdrop being downtown Dallas. Okay? It was awesome. It was going to be a smaller stadium, but something that they felt like they could churn. It was still going to be an enclosed dome stadium. It was a real problem for us because where's the new money in North Texas? It's Dallas North. Plano, Frisco, Prosper, Salina, all those different things. Those people up there are already paying more money for everything that they're doing. So if you told them season tickets were not $1,500, but $2,600, they're like, okay, it's fine. If you go tell AT&T, now they're moving, you know, going to Plano, but if you told corporate headquarters in Dallas, we'll do a program for your employees where they can literally walk to the stadium after they get off work, and you can build team bonding. Sorry. You'd think I'd never spoken before. So it was a trade-off because the majority of Rangers ticket buyers are in Tarrant County. Arlington, Mansfield, Burleson are like three of their biggest ticket buyers. Hearst, Euless, Bedford, huge ticket buyers. But it skews lower on average family income. They look at Dallas North, Holland County, you know, all going up to McKinney, skews higher. It's very attractive for them. They thought very seriously about it. The best part about it was, and saving for us, that one, they had a lot of ties in Arlington. And if I can just say this, and please don't say this outside here, Dallas can't get out of their own way. We all know that. I mean, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. Yeah, Dallas sucks. Okay, I'll say it. Dallas sucks. But that's the reason.
We get that transportation.
Transportation would be a big deal, but we have to make up a lot of ground for the fact that the vast majority of their ticket buyers are already Dallas North. We would be asking them to skew lower on average household income.
We got one more question.
One more question.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
Me?
Yes, sir.
I have heard in the past that the city of Arlington owns AT&T Stadium, is that correct?
That's correct.
And that the Cowboys lease their part
Yes, sir.
from the city of Arlington?
Yes, sir.
So why is it
They-
not
they have
called
the
Arlie
operation.
World instead of Jerry World?
I guess Jerry World just probably rolls off the tongue better, but yes, the Cowboys, both the Cowboys and Rangers have the operational agreements for stadiums. So citizens of Arlington own those things. That's why we have a really big chip in the game. We try not to impede business, but there's been a few times where we've had to go to them and say, this is what's good for Arlington. It may not be as good for you, but we need you to do this. That's the reason why we have a chip in the game to do that. We don't play all the time, but we will when we need to. That was a short question. You want one more? Anybody else have one?
Tell us a grass story real quick.
One more.
Oh, okay, I'll tell you a grass story. Yes, sir.
One more?
Go
Yes,
for
sir.
it.
Okay, I want to give some current figures on FIFA.
Okay. Boy, this is gonna be good.
So, longtime Arlington resident,
Yes, sir.
came here in '79, my wife came here in 1980. We spent decades working at American Airlines. So 11 years ago, I decided to volunteer work at a DFW and an ambassador. So I work at all the different terminals, answering questions and assisting people. The last 9 years, have worked at the international buildings. Anyway, once a year, DFW management invites us into the headquarters building and spends the day telling us all the inside information about DFW Airport. Like the fact that there's 10 construction projects all going on at the same time. What's gonna be completed before FIFA? How much impact is FIFA gonna have? So I have a screen here that I captured on a PowerPoint presentation when they talked about FIFA for an hour yesterday morning. So these are a few of the updated figures.
I hope this is good.
Okay, international arrivals, they expect 900,000 people to come through DFW Airport. Between 360,000 and 400,000 possible domestic travelers, because there's 16 cities, 2 of which are in Canada, 3 are in Mexico, and 11 are here. And when you look at the map, the geographic center is DFW Airport. Okay, 2,300 to 7,000 players and team officials, 1,500 to 5,000 VIPs and their guests, 5,000 journalists because the Kay Bailey Hutchison is going to be the broadcast center, and 5,000 plus journalists to be here. So they expect a 17% increase in traffic through DFW during the FIFA
That's
period.
a lot of money.
And incidentally, DFW, which is the backbone of the whole Texas economy, annually handles now 89 million people.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Basically 1.5 million
Yep. I mean, it's
people
gonna
are gonna be here for that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you the
Tell
grass
us.
story real quick. Okay. Who here remembers a few years ago on opening day that there were some strange green kidney shapes in the outfield of the ballpark? Anybody remember that? That was me. And this is my dad's favorite story to tell, and I'll make this quick. I had an idea that for a fundraiser, we would hit golf balls off the roof of the ballpark down onto the field, onto the grass, and that we would paint these greens in the outfield, and we would raise money for the sports commission doing it. The Rangers agreed to it. And they said, you know, as long as we don't kill the grass, and I was like, we're not gonna kill the grass, we're just gonna paint it just like we paint, you know, end zones and stuff. The painter used a marine grade paint.
Ooh.
And man, let me tell you, it looked great. It did. If you'd have seen it. It
Stuck
looked-
well.
Stuck well. I mean, that stuff was on that grass. Everything was fine, you know, we washed it off and everything looked cool. About 3 weeks, 4 weeks before the start of the season, it might have been a little bit longer, I get a phone call from my guy at the Rangers. He's like, hey man, I need you to come over here. I was like, what's up? He's like, we got a problem. So what's the problem? So we go up to the top and we look down and all the grass is coming back except the kidney shape where there had been paint. It killed the roots of that grass. I don't know how much you know about turf grass, but there are like this great minutia of different turf grasses, and there's different gradients, and none of them look identical. And so what we had to do is trench out all those kidney shapes and replace it with the same exact grass. But because it wasn't the same maturity as the other grass, it was a different color green. And so on the opening day broadcast, they were like, if you notice out there, the outfield looks a little bit different, a little bit of a mishap over the off season with some paint being spilled, paint being spilled on the grass. And my dad thinks that to this day, that's the funniest story ever. He would call me all throughout that season. He'd be like, son, I'm watching a game here, and it just seems like the outfield looks a little funny. You ain't know anything about that, would you? So sometimes I don't get things right. Sometimes I screw things up.
What year was that?
That would have been like 2018, somewhere around there. But before I go, I just want to tell you guys one more time, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for all the things that you do. Thank you. This is the backbone of our community. I know that. Men and women like you guys are out there doing the work. You're supporting the things that we do. I hope that you're proud of the things that we're doing. But I want you to know how proud I am of this city, and will always be proud of this city. So thank you, and God bless.
Thanks to Matt for being here today. Don't forget, who's your favorite charity?
Was Safe Haven. Safe Haven just changed their name. Safe Haven.
Okay, so we're gonna donate $100 to Safe Haven in your name for being here. And I wanna thank you again for all you do, because I know it's not the easy job. I'm gonna say, I think your wife is fantastic. Because she put the boot in your ass. Right? Absolutely. And next month, Rob Matwick, we alluded, they'll be here. So don't forget, next month, tell your friends and neighbors, and let's go. Have a great day, guys.